Welcome to our Raw Materials Intention Week discussion. I am Tavish Carduff, and we are going to start with talking about our motivation and our passion. How do we get motivated, and how do we find our passion? Intention is where we start. And the beginning of intention is recognizing the emotion that surrounds our intention. Every single intention we have is born from some type of emotion. So if we can get comfortable with the emotions that create our intentions, we start to get comfortable with emotions overall and choosing the intentions that actually line up to our values and serve us. We spend a lot of time in our day thinking about things we could, would, should, might do. That adds up to more things than we actually have time to do in this human body. So until we figure out how to get more accomplished in a day, and the answers to that are myriad and debatable, I would like to stick to how do we find our passion and our motivation now in what we have, and that is by diving straight into our emotion. What motivated us when we were younger? What things can we draw from our early childhood into now, even though we might have shut them down, or we might, whatever we think about them. It doesn't really matter what mights I could throw out there, because you follow your own line of intentions and you will start to see your pattern, your method, what is important to you. And our intentions being emotionally driven, we have to really take some deep breaths around the things that we think that we want. Where do those desires come from? Do they bubble up from within us? Do they spring from our creativity? Are they born of things that matter to us? Or were they affected by something someone else said or someone else wanted, or someone that we admire that we want to be like? We all gain interest from listening to the people that we care about and the people that we look up to, the things that they might be interested in, we find ourselves interested in. And that's no coincidence. But when we don't look to our own creativity and passion to make sure that those things really ignite us from the inside out too, then we're adopting something that may or may not really be ours. When things line up to our creative passion, we feel a vibration within us from the inside out that doesn't have us putting out resistance or being concerned with what other people might say or do. That being said, we think about a lot of things during a day. I remember as a kid, all of my thoughts were so motivated by feelings, especially with my parents. If I was mad or I was upset or I was sent to my room, the thoughts that I had right then and the intentions that I wanted were all efforts to punish people or make them feel bad or make them miss me. Just crazy ideas that I had no actual intention of carrying out. But if I let myself go to a certain place in my life, I think I really could have looked back and connected the dots to a very unhappy, uncomfortable life. Thankfully, I did not do that. My intentions and my passion stayed out in front of me enough. I personally have always been chasing a spiritual connection. I've always been connected to something outside of myself, felt something bigger, whether that came from church or whether that came from the groups that I've been involved in, the environments where I've just let myself be vulnerable and felt supported and comfortable. So part of finding our passion comes in finding supportive environments that we can really test our intentions and see how we feel about them. A lot of times when we're younger, the things that we're passionate about get shut down because someone we admired said something, intentional or not, that made us feel like we wanted to put it away or hide it. And things that were really valuable to us, we kind of piled things in front of them and shut them down. They're stuck in the back of our physical closet, waiting to be rediscovered. And meanwhile, we can't find motivation for the basic tasks in our life because we can't find that spark that makes us want to keep doing it. And I think, especially in America, we find ourselves in a lot of despair over feeling unmotivated, feeling like we can't determine what would make us happy and what would make us feel good. I'm here to change that perspective around because I'm not going to be able to change the conditions of your existence or your life. I'm not going to be able to tell you exactly what your passion is, but I'm going to be able to help you figure out how to find it yourself, how to go within your own body and figure out through your own intentions what you need. The emotional weeks start with emotion, so just simply identifying emotion. The next one is intention, seeing what thoughts our emotions lead us to. And what they lead us to more often will be a much better way to determine what we actually intend. When we narrow down out of the many intentions that we have, which ones feel like the coolest path or the thing that we want the most, now we're starting to get together for the next week resources. When we start to pull together what we need to make what we want happen, we go from an idea of something we might want to actually being able to see it through, actually being able to set it up to make it happen, ensuring that those feelings of success, wanting something, putting it together, making it happen, actually become a cycle that we reinforce by watching it work over and over and over. As soon as we see that passion, creativity, and feel motivation, then it becomes a lot easier to do the mundane tasks that seem hard when we can't find the motivation. It's an endless cycle of not tricking ourselves, but reminding ourselves that we set our expectations in a place that doesn't allow for the changes that happen organically in the world all the time and regularly and are going to disrupt our life. So even if we set an intention, the universe might step in our way with conditions that support a different type of lesson. We have to sit back and know whether those intentions really line up to our values or not. Because if we decide that we want something specific and our life isn't really geared to offer it to us, and there isn't not a clear path, but there isn't a reasonable path. If you can't see yourself in the role that you're asking for, and if it doesn't in some way offer something to the greater good, offer something to the people around you, then it might not line up to the value system that your internal self holds. So checking in between your ego and your soul and really lining up that value system is going to help you start manifesting the things that you want. If the things that you want are attached to things that are good for other people too, there's a much better chance that you're going to pull that in and have it become a reality. Believing that we have the ability to use our passion, to use our creativity, to use our vulnerability to be an example and to open ourselves up so that we can receive is simple, basic connection behavior. But it's so scary because we've convinced ourselves that certain ways that we feel are unacceptable or even out of control, that somehow certain ways that we feel we need to shut them down and not feel them. And I think it's actually the shutting down of those feelings that creates these bursts of horrible feelings and awful energy that gives some people an opportunity to feel so disillusioned and so angry and so separate from the rest of the world that they are willing to do heinous things and that they are willing to commit heinous acts because they set intentions that continue to keep them from feeling connected. That connection would keep them from feeling like it's okay to kill someone. But they're so disconnected that their intentions are really a misguided effort to somehow protect themselves or make someone pay or make themselves be known or make themselves be remembered. But it's an emotion and a vulnerability that they are unwilling to accept or feel in themselves, or at least that's what it starts with. I can't say what it turns into. Thankfully, I don't carry thoughts and feelings like that wind up in me or put me in a position of wanting to create harm. But I know that there are a lot of people running around forming intentions about harm, forming intentions about taking things that don't belong to them, forming intentions and creating reasons why this sort of behavior is okay. Motivation and intention are closely linked, and they're closely linked to emotion. I know I keep drawing emotion into it, but when we really look at the things that we want and how we're going to get them, our emotions play a big part. If we can be real with our emotions, if we can stop and say, hey, I'm having this uncomfortable or awful feeling to the people around us, and let them absorb it, let us absorb it, breathe through it, move on, and see that it doesn't have to stick around, and it doesn't have to be a thing that continues to limit what's possible for us or keep us from the things that do move us and make us grow with passion and purpose. Our intentions should be a garden full of all kinds of flowers or vegetables, herbs, whatever you want to say, but gather your bouquet, gather the ones that you can. You can't put the whole garden on your kitchen countertop and enjoy it, but you can grab some intentions, and those are the ones you work with. Give yourself that opportunity to cultivate the things that really bring you into yourself and that set you up for success, that let you see yourself imagining something, pulling together the resource to make it happen, aligning with it, and then feeling complete and whole in the process. That makes it a lot easier when we don't meet our intentions to remember that there are plenty that we meet. And when we sink back into that comfort, it makes it a lot easier to handle the emotions or the disappointment when we don't meet them. With our intentions, dreaming it, feeling it, imagining it, all of those things help us take it to the level where it can manifest. They help sow the seeds that put us in a position to get the things that we want. The challenge that I'm offering up for Intention Week is an actual written challenge. So think about something that you want, form a clear statement about it being true, and write it down. I don't care if you throw it away, burn it, freeze it, leave it to find later. It doesn't really matter what you do with it. It matters that you are present with your statement, you are clear about what you would like to see as true, state it as true, and then walk away. This is how we move our intentions in a way that we recognize our own passion, not someone else's, and that we're motivated by the things that move us, not the things that piss us off. If we can get out of being reactionary, our intentions serve us. But so many times our intentions are simply a reaction to something that we didn't like that someone else did. We might all of a sudden assume some behavior in a complete reaction to someone else, changing the entire trajectory of where our focus is. And when we do that, we really lose sight of what we're passionate about. We are then focused on something we are fired up about. And those two things are different. Inner fire, inner passion is different than the intellectual anger that comes in when we don't get what we want or when we're very bothered by what someone else is bringing. I think sometimes the beauty in life comes from the intentions that we don't get to run straight through, but that teach us lessons along the way. I will be back next week with my very favorite week, resources, where all of the spiritual weeks come together and really bestow great blessings. This is the start of the 4 weeks of manifesting intention, resources, aligning with intention, and finally wholeness, where we get to feel perfect in every single moment. I intend for each of us to feel better in our bodies this week and every week from here forward as we continue to get to know these pillars and get to know ourselves in relation to them, feeling more and more comfortable in our body, comfortable with our breath, and more clear about how to proceed with the things that we want. I am Tavish Carduff. Thank you for being here. Please check us out at our website, ourrawmaterial.com. And if you'd like to sign up for one of our classes, go ahead and email us at ourrawmaterial@gmail.com. And don't forget to subscribe, tell your friends, anyone you think might be interested in exploring a little self-evaluation, getting to know yourself a little more deeply, and most importantly, manifesting all of the things that you want so that your intentions meet your creativity and your passion.